Welcome to Betting Weekly WTA, the women's tennis betting podcast, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. After an incredible Australian Open, which we'll discuss shortly and briefly, we'll be looking at this week's WTA Tour events, the 500 in Linz, Austria, and the 250 in Singapore. Subscribers are going up, and it's great to see you interact with us in the YouTube comments and on social media. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And follow us on all the usual social media outlets. We're at Because We Win. Now, with me as always is Nigel Seeley. Nigel, just one place to start, I guess. That's Melbourne. That last week wasn't too bad for us. We had 4 out of 5 winning plays last Monday. The only one that let us down was Madison Keys beating Alina Svitolina. And of course, Keys went on to win her first slam, a pulsating final win over Aryna Sabalenka. She beat Iga Swiatek in another thriller in the semis. I know a couple of decent judges who backed Keys outright. I couldn't keep the faith after she got injured at Wimbledon last year. We both backed players in that third quarter. You on Jelena Rybakina. I was on Jasmine Paolini. Just not the right one. What do you take from the tournament? I guess Madison Keys, new racket, newly married, things are going well for her. She's a player to watch now for the rest of the year.
This young upstart, Madison Keys, 29 years old, she's a player to watch. Good afternoon to you, Roy. I think that she shows you that going into the Australian Open, that you need to be in form, and it's such important to have a player who's done well the week before. Madison Keys won, obviously, the week before. He's unbeaten on the year, kept that run going. Winning is a habit that you just don't want to lose. You want to keep winning whatever you do. If you get in a losing run, then you suddenly question yourself in all types of different things. And I'm in a losing run in betting. I'm questioning myself for everything at the moment as well. So it shows you how important that winning run is. I backed Sabalenka after the set one. I took even money, Sabalenka. After set one in the final, I didn't think Madison Keys could maintain it. She did. And I think there was probably a little bit of doubt from the players that she was opposing. I think they underestimated her. I thought Sabalenka thought, well, I've got this after the second set. She's flaky in the past. I've got her number. I've beaten her many times before. Swiatek must have thought she's got no chance in a tiebreak. I can beat her. And she hit winners, and she went for it and went for her shots, and it caused problems, and it made the other players doubt what they were doing and question themselves and made them errors. So, yeah, one thing, someone who broke on the scene at 14 years of age and wins a major at 29, you've got to keep believing in your process and keep believing in it, and shows you what you've got a happy life and you've got good people around you. You can achieve pretty much anything, and that's exactly what she's done. Will she win a major again? I know she's going to be bet for Wimbledon. She's going to bet for the US Open, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be a one and only major championship.
I feel like I've been betting Madison Keys for Wimbledon for a very, very long time now. And obviously, I think ahead of last year, I would have said that. And, she's really short. She's been really well backed. Bet Rivers are the shortest price about her for Wimbledon at $9. Rightly so, in my opinion. And Iga Swiatek is $9 as well. Everywhere else, Keys is a bigger price than Swiatek, which to me doesn't make any sense at all, because Swiatek can't really play on grass. She's as short as $8 for the US Open with us. And the French Open, where she has reached the semi-finals before, she's $33. To me, that still looks a little bit big. But not even Wimbledon, despite there not being many good grass players about.
I think that is the one tournament that I think she can do. I still think Sabalenka will come out of this tournament hungrier and determined, and she was fuming. She was absolutely fuming, and she played down on it on the press conference. She played down on it in an interview after, and the boxer joking and hollering. But when they got behind closed doors, she'll be absolutely fuming, and I think she's going to come back hungrier. The thing is, with Wimbledon, you do get shot winners, don't you? We've had shot winners in the past. My only problem with Madison Keys is that she's won this tournament now because she's in peak fitness. And she's always questionable about her fitness coming in a long season. She's not getting any younger. She's 28 years of age now. So she'll be 29 at Wimbledon. I just worry about whether she can lift it. She's done what she wanted to set out to achieve in her life, win a major champion. And I understand 33-1 is the wrong price. 9-1, I think, is a too short price. I think it's somewhere between 16-1, something like that. Maybe the price if you got the 33-1, well done. But I think this will be our one and only slam.
So we now look on to this week's tournaments, and unfortunately we don't have prices yet for Linz. They had the draw earlier today. I think the qualifying match is still going on as we speak, so we don't have any odds. We will have a look at that later in the show, but first of all, we've got the 250 in Singapore. All a bit of a come down from Melbourne, has to be said. This is the first WTA Tour event to be held in Singapore for quite a few years. Singapore did host the WTA finals from 2014 to 2018. Now, it took me a little while to find out some details about the conditions here. It's indoors. It's being played at the Kallang Tennis Centre, which does have outdoor courts, but this tournament is being played indoors. And the surface, which took me even longer to find, is Lakehold, which is used at the US Open and at Cincinnati, which many of you will know is one of the faster hard courts on the tour. So combination of Lakehold and indoors, we can expect it to be fairly quick. It's a 32-player draw, no buys. And if players progress according to the seedings, Anna Kalinskaya is the top seed. She'll face 7th seed Emma Raducanu. I'm sure Nigel's got a view on her. 3rd seed Amanda Anisimova will face 5th seed Polina Kudermetova. In the bottom half, Mayuka Uchijima, who's seeded 8, she'll play 4th seed Jinyu Wang. She's the right-hander. Jiyu Wang, the left-hander, is also in this tournament. And in the bottom quarter, 6th seed Camilla Osorio will meet Elise Mertens, who's seeded number 2. I suppose we need to talk about Emma Raducanu, Nigel. The only slam winner in the field.
Do we have
to? She's just parted company with another coach, Nick Cavaday. That was after she went down 6-1, 6-love to Iga Swiatek at the Australian Open. Having had a look at the draw, her route to the semi-finals looks fairly simple. Anna Kalinskaya, the top seed's in terrible form. And then she'd face Amanda Anisimova, who she beat in Melbourne. Or Brisbane finalist Polina Kudermetova. Do you think she can get back on track this week?
I mean, I got a lot of stick. I think I would have had a much better Australian Open if it wasn't for the name of Emma Raducanu. The 2 matches that she played in the first 2 rounds, I opposed her quite heavily, and she got through. She found a way to get through, but I still didn't think that she'd come back to anywhere near what her levels that she could be, or what the public expect her to be. The amount of double faults she served in those 2 matches was horrendous. I mean, she hit winners, but it was erratic. It was crazy. And against top-class opposition, which she ran into Swiatek, she was going to get found out. She was never going to out-hit Swiatek. She was going to make so many unforced errors, and she was going to make so many double faults that it was inevitable. It was going to be a heavy defeat for her. She's tournament favourite for this. I don't think it does anything to say that Emma Raducanu is back. It just highlights how poor this tournament is in Singapore. She has got a favourable draw. Don't get me wrong. She's got a favourable draw, but she plays a tough opponent in round 1 in Buxa. I think it's going to be too quick for Buxa. I think Emma Raducanu will get through that. But would I back her at plus 550? Not a chance. Not a chance at all. You're talking about a player who has had her heaviest ever defeat on the tour in her last match and come into a tournament without a coach, and she's the tournament favourite. I'm not being negative to Emma Raducanu. You know, I hope that and pray that she can get back into the top 20, 30 for British tennis and for betting interest over here. But I just question whether she'll ever hit those heights again. And I think it's very easy to blame the coach every time. And I think that her problems lie solely with herself and her injuries. And I just think that she's a long way off. But she has got a favourable draw. The conditions will suit her. But I think there's better options than her at 550. In the top half of the draw, I want to fade Kalinskaya, the number 1 seed. And if I was Anisimova, who she beat at Australian Open as well, I think she's another one who's got a wild card here. She's one that you want to fade as well. I think in the top half, I think the one that I would probably want to be on out of all of them is Kudermetova, Polina Kudermetova, who's been in great form, and she's doubled the price of Raducanu. I just wouldn't bet Raducanu. But to be honest with you, I think this is a very, very, very hard tournament to actually go in and have a future winner without seeing the conditions, without seeing how quick the court is, because we're really guessing really on how it's going to play. We think it's going to play quite quick. We think it's going to be a tournament that, but there's no history to it. And also I expect a few people to pull out. So I'm a little bit worried about it. But in the top half of the draw, Polina Kudermetova is definitely the better value for me at the prices than the price for Raducanu. I think Raducanu is far, far too short. Kudermetova has done well in the Australian Open. She come through qualifying, got beat in the first round by Magdalena Frech, but she got to the final of Brisbane and got beat by Sabalenka, which was a great run. And you wouldn't expect to win the tournament or get to the final of the tournament in Brisbane and then have a good run in the Australian Open, for a young player like this who hasn't really had much of an experience. I mean, she's only, 23, 22 years of age? 21, actually.
21,
so, yeah 21. So that would be my bet. She's played 10 matches this year, lost 2. In the top of the draw, I think that would be where the value goes. If you look at the seedings will be Kalinskaya against Raducanu, Anisimova against Kudermetova. And then in the bottom half, Uchiyama against Wang, Osario against Mertens. So the top half is much tougher than the bottom half, without a shadow of a doubt. So I think Kudermetova will come through in the top half. But in the bottom half, I think that is where I'd probably be looking for a wager, because I think it's a little bit of an easier route to the final than the top half.
Yeah, we'll just run through the odds quickly. Emma Raducanu, as we say, the plus 550 favourite. Anna Kalinskaya and Elise Mertens, both $6. Amanda Anisimova at plus 650. Polina Kudermetova, $12. Jinyu Wang at $14. Jiyu Wang, the left-hander, $20. Maya Joint, $22. Erika Andreeva, that's Mira Andreeva's older sister, she's $25. Same price for Camila Osorio, Alicia Parks and Ajla Tomljanovic. And then it's $28 bar those. I'm with you on Kudermetova in the top. I mean, she does need it quick. And her final against Sabalenka in Brisbane, it was almost like, I think I said this before, it was like Sabalenka was the one on the back foot. Kudermetova was the one really going for it and attacking. And she's very hit and miss. I mean, as you said, she lost next time out to Magdalena Frech. And we are guessing to these conditions. But Kudermetova was the one that took my eye. As you say, she's twice the price of Raducanu and almost twice the price of Anisimova. And she is, she's shown already this season that she can put it together. She can be inconsistent because she's got a very high risk game. But I think at $12, you can take the chance here. So I don't want to go overboard, though, because it's a really trappy tournament. And as you say, we don't really know the conditions. So shall we go a half point each way?
I'm not going to have a bet on it. I'm going to leave that to... No, I
Okay.
think I'm going to have 2 bets in the bottom half of the draw and hopefully get someone through to the final. But in the top half of the draw, the person I would project to get to the final, the price would be Kudermetova. But I think the each way part, the top half of the draw is so difficult because it's much tougher than the bottom half of the draw. So my strategy is to pick 2 in the bottom half of the draw rather than the top half of the draw. But if I was choosing one, it would be Kudermetova.
All right. So I'm gonna have half a point Kudermetova, $12 top half. Go on then. Who are your 2 long shots in the bottom half?
Well, I'm going to go for 2. It's a strange strategy, but I think Q3 is really, really, really weak. And the 2 seeds there I want to take on Wang and Uchiyama. I want to take them on. I mean, really, really do. You've got Harriet Dart, you've got Teachman, who's older than me. You've got Marino, the Canadian player. She's playing well, Marino. Actually.
She gave Katie Bolter a real scare in Melbourne.
She could beat Wang in round 1. I mean, she's playing really, really well, and she's coming back to some kind of form. I mean, if she gets through, she could be someone who you want to keep an eye on. And she's not even. What's she in the betting list? She's not even in the betting. So Marino is definitely one to see. But I think the value is in that third quarter. Q4, Osario, I think it's going to be too quick for her. Elise Mertens is someone that is always in or around the top of the betting in these kind of markets and someone that I want to fade. But I'm going to go for 2 players. I'm going to go for Maya Joint and Alicia Parks. They play each other. And I think the winner of that one has a great, great chance to get through to the final. That is where my strategy is here. I mean, it's quick, which will suit Parks, definitely. But in the build-up to this match, there's been a lot of money for Maya Joint to beat Parks in the match, which slightly is a concern She's come through 2 qualifying matches here, joint already, so she knows the conditions. She got beat in the first round of the Australian Open, but it was against Jess Pegula, so you forgive her that. She was a big underdog. She had a real tough draw. But prior to that, she got through to the semi-finals in Hobart, beat some big names, Danilovic, Lynette, Kenin, played some good tennis, and got beat by Elise Mertens in the semi-final. And she's a player that I've watched in the last few months, and I quite like what I see from her. I think she's got a game that could go well. She's young. She's 18 years of age. She's on the right trajectory. I think she's just inside the top 100 now. And I think she's a player that can move very quickly in the top 50. And I think whoever wins this match has got a great chance to get through to that third, into the semi-finals minimum. And then I think Mertens could go somewhere. I think Erika Andreeva, Danilovic could beat Mertens. So I'm looking for the winner of this one to go through. So I'm playing both of them. They've met once before. Parks beat them in last year in a final in the Challenger event. But Parks got to the quarterfinals, also semi-finals, in Auckland, where she got beat by Osaka. And I think they're both in form. They both had a pretty poor Australian Open, but if you can give them for that, they weren't expected to do much. But in the 250, they'll be right up for the challenge. And I think Maya Joint at 22-1 and Alicia Parks at 25-1. I'm going to have a half a point each way on both of them, because I do believe whoever wins that match will be not far off half the price that they are now. And that third quarter is very, very weak with 2 seeds that are very, very vulnerable. So I'm going to go for the winner of that match to go all the way to the final. And hopefully we can beat whoever we meet in the final, because I wouldn't be too concerned about anybody really in the final. Could Medvedev possibly, but anybody else I wouldn't be bothered. So I'm going to go for those 2, Joint and Parks, half a point each way at 22-1 and 25-1 in Singapore in the 250.
Yeah, I've got to say Parks was my pick from the bottom half as well. I backed her in Auckland, and she beat Amanda Anisimova in the first round there and played very well. She beat Griezmann and then she lost to Osaka, as you say, and Osaka had to play very well there, and Osaka was showing signs of being back to her best, of course, before she had to pull out injured in the final against Clara Tolson, and then she had to pull out injured at the Australian Open. But happy to go along with the Parks bet. We'll leave it at half a point each way. As I say, it's a trappy tournament.
I think the other thing as well, for especially for Joint, the fact that she's played 2 matches already in qualification, that's the reason why she's being bet to win that match, because she has the advantage of playing the surface in a new tournament. She's used to the surroundings, and Parks hasn't, and that'd be a danger. But I think if Parks can get through that match and she can go all the way to the final, and that's why I'm going to sort of have the 2 of them, because it's such a weak quarter that I believe that whoever gets through that match will get through.
So there you go. That's our mode of attack for Singapore. The other tournament this week is the Upper Austria Open in Linz. Last year upgraded from a 250 to a 500. It's indoors, although I watched it a couple of years ago and the bounce was quite slow. But having said that, the service hole percentage, 67.7 last year, so it's definitely the fast side of medium. Last year, Yelena Ostapenko defeated Ekaterina Alexandrova in the final. In the last few years, it's usually gone to it has gone to a seeded player. Top seeds and number 8 seeds for some reason. It's either been one of the 2. You go back to 2019, Coco Gauff won the title, having lost in qualifying. She was a lucky loser and then went all the way to take the title. It's not a bad field for straight after the slam, but as we say, no odds, so we can't really look in depth at it. We'll go through, if the seeds get through to the quarters, we'll have top seed Karolina Muchova against Anastasia Potapova. Then last year's runner-up Alexandrova, she's seeded 4. She'll face Elena Avanesian. In the bottom half, Diana Yastremska against Maria Sakkari, who's seeded 3, but has to be a big fade. Clara Tauson, seeded number 8, and she will face Elena Svitolina, the 2nd seed, in the bottom quarter. I should say that the top 4 seeds get byes into round 2. Looking at this, there doesn't appear to be too much strength outside of the seeded players. And as we say, seeded players have won every year since Gauff's lucky loser run in 2019. Where are you looking here, Nigel?
Well, you're right. The number 1 and number 2 seed have played each other in the final in 3 of the last 10 meetings. Only one unseeded player has ever ever won the tournament, and that was in 2019 when Coco Gauff won the tournament, but obviously she's gone on to bigger and better things. Sabalenka won it as a number 1 seed as well. She beat Mertens, I think it was, as number 2 seed. So you've really got to concentrate on the seeded players. It's a tournament where the seeds have done exceptionally well. But so I'm looking at the draw here, and I look at the top half of the draw, and Karolina Muchova is the number 1 seed and will probably be an overwhelming favourite. But the way she got beat by Osaka is a bit of a worry for me. We know that she's very, very injury prone, and to come here straight away with her conditioning and her health, I think straight away she would be a worry for me. In that top half of the draw, I think there's a couple of players that potentially could go well for you at decent prices. Avansarian, again, is a player that has had a good run in these kind of 500s and 250 events. She's a player that I think is another player who's going to go well. She's the number 7 seed, sorry. If you look at her record, she got to the last 16 at Brisbane, got beat by Jabeur. She got to the semi-finals in Hobart, and then she got beat by Punteseva in round 1 against Australia in the Australian Open, which that's not a bad performance, because obviously she would have been a very big underdog in that match. Jastrzębska in the bottom half. Come to the bottom half of the minute. So I think Avansarian is a player who's someone that I think could go well. And I also think the young German girl who got a bye here, got a wild card here, Lai, the German. She's 23. I saw her play in Hamburg a few years ago on a very slow court at Hamburg, where she played Maya Sheriff, and Sheriff was a heavy favourite. We actually bet Sheriff to win the tournament. And she blitzed her, and I thought, this girl is going to be something. She hasn't really done anything, but she had a real good run at the Australian Open, come through 3 qualification matches all the way to the last 16. She got blitzed by Iga Swiatek 6-love, 6-1, but she will take some real confidence to get to the last 16 at a young age, and she's a good player. She would need it slow. So I'm not quite sure how slow this is going to be, but she would need it very, very slow for her to go deep. So Avanesyan and Lai would be the 2 players that I like at a decent enough price. But in the bottom half of the draw, there is no getting away from Clara Towson for me. And then for all the reasons I've said on many, many times on this show, and many times that we've discussed her, she was one of my only winning bets in the first round of the Australian Open, where she beat Noskova in a real long game. She pushed Sabalenka really, really close. She pushed the number 1 close in round 3 of the Australian Open. She got to the final of Auckland, where she won it. She beat Madison Keys. She's the only player to beat Madison Keys this year. She obviously beat Osaka in the final. Obviously, it was a problem with her with injury. But in a very, very weak bottom half of the draw, where Q3, Jastrzębska and Zachary, they're not doing anything. Svitolina coming here after a long week at the Australian Open, a long couple of weeks, did well. She might be a little bit jaded. And I think Towson can really, really take full advantage of a very weak draw, continue her brilliant run. She's really, really close to hitting in the top 32 in the world. A good run here will take her to a career high. And I'm gutted that there's no prices up, because Clara Towson each way would have been my bet, and it would have been my 1 unit each way pick. So when the odds do come up with Bet Rivers, Clara Towson is my bet here. She's in for. She's the only player in the world to beat Keys and push the world number 1 really close, and then she's in a 500 event here in Austria up against Svitolina. To come back from Australia to all the way to Austria here is a big change, in very quick turnaround. And Towson, she's going to be fresher, and she's going to be hungrier, and she's in great form. So Clara Towson each way.
There you go. I don't have a strong opinion on this tournament, to be honest. I can definitely see. I can see the argument for Towson. Definitely. I just get the feeling. She has suffered with injuries before, and all her form actually. The conditions should really suit her. She's got a great record indoors. Before winning in Auckland, her previous WTA Tour success was indoors, and she's done very well there. I think she reached a final in Courmayeur once and lost to Donna Vekic indoors as well. I think for Towson now, this is kind of the litmus test for her. If she can now, she's in good form. If she can get some consistency, if she can stay injury free, then she's a player who can certainly get near the top 20, if not break into that top 20. But it's tournaments like these that I think we're going to see whether she's up to it or not. as you say, the draw's been kind to her. I'd like to see her go far. Svitolina would be a test.
There's not much to beat, though. It's a 500.
There isn't.
Muchova, number 1 seed, injury prone. Svitolina on the back of her last 16 defeat against Keys, then 3 days, coming back from Australia, probably 3 days later, travelling back here to different conditions, different everything. Towson seeded. She's seeded. I think she's on the up. And you just look at her statistics. Look at her average. Look how many aces she's serving. I mean, she's serving as good as anybody at the moment. And, we're talking about, 2 tournaments where we're talking about Towson and Raducanu, who are both breaking onto the scene. Which one was going to go on to be bigger and better things? And Raducanu had that opportunity to win it. And now we're talking about she's the favourite. Whereas I don't believe Towson. I think Towson will probably be second or third favourite here, though.
Yeah.
I
think Muchova will be favourite, won't she?
But I do think it's the each way part. That each way part, getting half the odds to get to the final. That bottom half is not going to take anything to get past. Svitolina wouldn't surprise me to see Svitolina pull out again, but we'll see what happens.
We will indeed, because Svitolina, I think Australian Open was her first tournament for a few months, so it wouldn't be a great surprise to see her pull out. So Nigel, are you gonna have a bet on Towson? Regardless of the price?
I can't do it. But obviously, if you want to, if there's any odds come out, I'll put something on the social pages when this video goes live. When the lines go out, we've got to do it. We've got to record it a little bit early because there's a big night in the championship in the NFL this evening. So we need to get the shows over live before the championship of the NFL matches going on. But I think unfortunately I can't. So I've got to have to just play those 2 half-point each way bets in Singapore in that the bottom half of the draw. Go for Joint and Parks each way at 22 to 1 and 25 to 1.
Yeah, those were Nigel's picks in the bottom half in Singapore. My pick is in the top half in Singapore, half a point each way on Polina Kudermetova at $12.
If you could have a bet in Austria, where would you go? If you had to pick one?
I don't know. I think Towson's going to be too short for my liking.
Do you think so? What price do you think she'll be? I think she'll be. Well, she's going to be underdog behind Svitolina, isn't she? Svitolina will be the favourite. She's not. She'll be so in the top half of the draw. You're going to have Muchova as the favourite. Second favourite will be Svitolina. Third favourite will be Towson. I reckon we'll get 10 to 1.
You think? Oh, I was thinking more. I think she'll more like be 6 or 7.
Well, we'll see.
Would you bet her at 6 or 7?
I'll be at 6s and 7s whether I should bet or not. But I think 4 to 1 to get the final. 8 to 1, I'll bet her.
8 to 1. Okay. Yeah, I think. I mean, I like Muchova obviously, but I wouldn't be too put off by her defeat to Osaka because Osaka is, as we know, top class on her day. I mean, I suspect Muchova will be about 4s, maybe 3 or 4, and then probably Svitolina 5 or 6, and Towson sort of 6, 7 maybe. But yeah, I wouldn't really like to commit without seeing the odds. I can certainly see the argument for Towson. It's a weak bottom half, and I'd love to see her kick on because it's something that she's been threatening to do for the last 2 or 3 years, and it hasn't quite happened. And I'd love to see it, but we shall see. We shall see. So that's it for Betting Weekly WTA for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please put your comments, put your selections in the box below, and good luck with your bets this week. Nigel and I will be back again next week. Looking forward to some more WTA tennis. Remember, subscribe, follow us on the socials. And Nigel, you mentioned the big championship game, but also there's the ATP to look at as well.
Yeah. The Betting Weekly game bet match. We're back with the tournament over in Montpellier, and I'll be in south of France next week covering that. Cover that on the social page. And big match on Wednesday night, the Champions League. Wednesday night, the final match of the Champions League. We've got an exclusive betcast, which you'll only be able to exclusively for newsletter subscribers only. So subscribe to the Betting Weekly newsletter, bettingweeklystudios.com. Hit that subscribe button on the newsletter. Give us your email address. You get a newsletter every Monday. Give you some bets, exclusive bets. We're winning money on that. Big profits on that so far. And you're getting live exclusive content across the tennis world and on the soccer world as well.
So there you go. So big bets to be had, big winnings to be had, hopefully on the tennis, definitely on the soccer. Make sure Hopefully, we can all cash some tickets. See you next time.